Welcome to the Ball and Chain podcast. I am Mox Born again. I do not have with me It's My Angel this time. However, do have a jam-packed show for you guys here. We didn't record last week, but I'm really excited to record this week. I wanted to record last night, but it got too late. I still wanted to get the show out there, so we've got a whole bunch to talk about. We got a game to review. We've got a first impression of a new, not a new board game, an old board game. But before we get into all of that, I wanted to welcome you guys to episode 222 of the Ball and Chain podcast. Here we talk about video games, we talk about board games, we talk about comics, movies, TV shows, pretty much anything that myself and usually my wife, who's normally sitting right about here-ish, likes to talk about. We like to have for entertainment, things like that. If you guys want to interact on the cast, you can log into twitch.tv/72DPI online. You can join the chat there. We're also streaming to our Mixer channel over on Xbox 3 or Xbox One. And then also we are streaming on YouTube Live. So really appreciate you guys who's watching. Hope you join in the fun and chat a little bit with us. We'll make sure to read some comments on the air or on the interwebs. I guess that's how that works. So before we get into our main topics of discussion, I just wanted to quickly give just a real quick shout out and a recommendation for sure. If you're into comics, or even if you're not into comics, 'cause I'm not into comics whatsoever. I would not consider myself a comic reader, I guess. Just recently have we been purchasing a few of them just with me and my son. We've been reading the Spider-Man Renew Your Vows comic line, which basically it takes place after Spider-Man. He kind of goes back. It goes back in time, and when he marries Mary Jane, they have a kid and a family, and they're all superheroes. It's a lot of fun for kids and things like that. It's not too violent, but it's not too boring either. But anyway, this is Oblivion Song. It's from the creator of The Walking Dead, Robert Kirkman. I highly recommend this comic. It's a post-apocalyptic world. It's a lot of fun. It's about rescuing survivors inside of a danger zone. There's like some teleportation and magic and things like that in there. And there's some really cool monsters and shit like that in there. But I highly recommend it. It's brand new. The first one came out last month, and actually, now that I'm thumbing through this, it does look like issue 2 actually just came out yesterday. So you go down to your local comic shop, pick up issue 2. It's a lot of fun to read. It's not exactly appropriate for kids. So yeah, if you're looking to start reading comics with your kids, this probably isn't the one for you. But if you're interested in like post-apocalyptic worlds, or if you're a fan of Robert Kirkman's work or whatever, it's definitely something that you can get into. On the ground floor, essentially. We really want that comic to do well. Nothing to take away from Walking Dead or anything like that, but it's kind of a fresh start. He talks about there's a couple interview pages in there as well. Let's see here. I think it's in the back. Yeah, there's like a letter to like the fans and stuff like that. And it basically kind of outlines like what this is, and it talks about how The Walking Dead has really taken up a lot of his time, and now he finally has like a window of opportunity to kind of stretch his creative imagination a little bit. And this has been kind of like a pet project of his for a long time coming. It's also got some really interesting creature sketches and stuff like that in there. But yeah, highly recommend it. Definitely pick it up. That's Oblivion Song. Like I said, issue 2 just came out yesterday, April 11th. So, all right, so let's get into our topics for today or this evening. Again, I apologize we didn't record last night. Angel wouldn't have made it last night either. She's been super busy with the photography business. It's kind of taking off, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that she needs to make sure she's on top of so that she's not making anybody upset, or she's just, doing good business practices. So I figured I would go ahead and jump on. I didn't want to wait any longer to do my review of Sea of Thieves. We did last episode, we did kind of like a first impressions, and that's exactly what it was. We said that the very beginning of the episode is a first impression. We literally put maybe I want to say 2 or 3 hours into it or whatever, and we felt like we had seen everything there was to see. So I was like, well, we'll actually give it its just deserves, and I'll play through it, or most of it rather, as much as I can stomach, because at the time was not happy with it. But I said, you know what, I'll push on and I'll give it a full review. That's what we're going to do today. Also, I want to talk about our newest acquisition inside of our gaming closet here is Mansions of Madness. As a board game that came out back in 2016-ish, somewhere around there. I probably should have looked that up. But it's an older game. It's got a new expansion coming out, and we wanted to and one of our friends actually recommended it to us, Chris. So we it's highly regarded from him. But let's see here. Mansions of Madness release date. It came out on when? Come on, Google. Second edition. Looks like it came out in 2016. Somewhere between 2016 and 2017. Yeah. This is riveting. 2006, between 2016 and 2017, somewhere in there. I don't know. It's an older game, so it's not new by any stretch of the imagination. But they are releasing expansions for it. They've already done one, and kind of like a catch-up series from the first edition or whatever. So we're going to be giving our first impressions of that, giving you kind of an idea of what goes into it. And then we also want to talk a little bit about Pixel Junk Monsters 2. It's coming back. Kind of excited about that. Really enjoyed that game. Angel was going to talk about Stardew Valley for the Switch, but since she's not here, I have no idea anything about it. I didn't play it, so she will be talking about that the next cast that she's on, probably next week. And then we're going to end with the last 2 episodes of Walking Dead that we've seen, the episode 14 and episode 15, and then kind of speculate for the final episode. I really wanted Angel on here for talk about this, but she's not gonna be here. So anyway, we'll get into that. So first up is, let's see here. Boom. Take you off, and we're gonna. All right, Sea of Thieves review. Let's kind of set the stage here. So if you don't know, Sea of Thieves is an Xbox One game. It also released on PC. It's kind of like an open world sandbox game where you play as a pirate, and you go on these treasure hunts or these marked kills or these collection quests for these vendors that are around these islands, these outposts. And it's a wide open game where you basically sail from island to island, controlling the mainsail and like the pitch and how open I guess it is. There's no mini map whatsoever. You do have a large map inside of the ship, so the exploration is really kind of like the key thing in the game. It's a full-fledged title, so it's $60. It's you can. I don't think it's download only. I'm not sure about that. I don't know. It is, however, part of the Xbox Game Pass, so you can download the Game Pass, and I believe that's between $9.99 and $14.99. You get a free 14-day trial when you sign up for the first time, and it's part of that gaming library. So if you want to try it out, you can do that. And that's kind of what I highly recommend, actually, with any game, is try it before you buy it, especially if you're on a budget. If you're anything like how I am, if you have any type of budget and it's your gaming, you have to be very precise with the games you purchase. You can't really take risks on games that you haven't tried. For instance, like the Mansions of Madness here. We would have never purchased this unless we played it, right? Dropping $60 plus $80 on a game is not something that we can just willy-nilly throw around. So highly recommend take those avenues to try this game out for sure. Definitely for sure. Form your own opinion. But we'll get in. So what I want to do is go into a couple different aspects about this game. So first off, let's talk about gameplay. We already kind of set up the how the game works. You've got the three different quote unquote factions that you do quests for. Each faction has a specific quest that it does. So there's the treasure hunters quest, like the hoarders, where they give you a map, and on that map is an X, and under that X is where there's a buried treasure. Pretty straightforward, right? And as you complete quests for these guys, you gain experience, or you gain experience in points or whatever for that individual faction, and then you also gain gold. Eventually, you can purchase with the gold that you've earned from the first set. You can unlock newer and upgraded quests, which essentially, for like, take for instance the hoarders clan or guild or whatever you want to call it. When you unlock the second tier, there's basically 2 X's on the map now. So you have to go search out 2 X's on the same island. I would say so then that's one faction. The second faction, you have a similar thing where they give you kind of like a bounty or whatever of a skeleton, and it tells you where it last was seen, and you have to find that island, and all the islands are marked what their names are or whatever. Last seen here, you've got to go there and kill the skeleton, and it works exactly the same way. Where the first set of quests are just one bad guy, and there's a few skeletons with swords, and some of them don't even have swords, and then going forward, as you progress through the clan or through the guild or whatever you want to call it, the quest giver line, you get a separate quest that is like there's 2 skeletons, right? And they might have guns instead of swords now, and some of their support characters have guns and swords, and less of them have actual just no weapons at all. So it does get progressively more difficult, progressively harder, but the act is exactly the same, right? Go from point A to point B, collect something, and then come back, right? When you kill the skeleton, he drops a skull, you pick it up, put it on your boat, take it back. Now you can kind of chain these together. You can chain these quests together, right? And you can collect the different skulls, and you can collect the different treasure chests, put them all on your ship, and then sail back to an outpost. The risk there is if someone sinks your ship, all of your rewards are gone. Like, you don't get credit for any of that stuff. The quest is still completed, so you can't go back and get it. You can't go and collect your treasure chest or anything like that. It's just gone. So the third quest is going to an island and collecting chickens or collecting pigs, or maybe there's snakes. I'm not sure. I didn't play any of them because I'm not a fan of collecting fetch quests at all. Hey mom, what's going on? So I'm not a fan of those. So I didn't play any of those quest lines whatsoever. But I did get through quite a few of the skeletons and the treasure hunting. The downside to what I was just talking about, as far as completing multiple quests and putting them on your ship, is the downside is if your ship sinks, you lose all that hard work and you can't go back and get it. But there is no upside. I mean, the only upside is you save time because you're not sailing to an outpost and sailing back and sailing. You're kind of mitigating that in between process. But you don't get any like extra credit for returning 3 quests in a row or whatever, and that's kind of where I think the game could flourish a little bit. Like, if you complete 5 quests, you get extra gold, or if you complete 4 quests, well, actually you can only carry 3 quests. So maybe if you turn in 3 treasure chests, you get so many, or if you turn in 5 treasure chests, you get so many, or whatever. Because you can only carry 3 actual. 3 actual quests at any given time. You can't do any more than that. So that's that. One of the things that I did differently. So I played. I probably put about 25 hours into the game, which is a lot for a game like this because there's not that much to do. So one of the other things that I did differently in my first impressions that I did after that in this review was I kind of hunted down. There's these giant skeleton head cloud things in the sky, and I was like, okay, I want to see what this is. They've seen them. I've never tracked one down. I don't know what it is. So I sailed to this wherever this island was, and I was basically bombarded by skeletons. Let's see here. So with the skeleton islands, as they're called, they've got cannons. They're very well protected. So there's a couple different ways you can kind of infiltrate these skeleton encampments or whatever. So what I did was, because you can't dock your boat anywhere near the island, because it will just the cannons are just insane. And they're pretty high. They're pretty accurate, so you can't stop. You got to keep going. So if you've got a team of 4, one person can, all 3 guys can kind of load up in the cannons and kind of shoot themselves in close to the island or whatever, and the 4th guy can kind of just float around and keep the ship or whatever going. But you could do that, or what I did was I docked my ship way in the distance where they could not get to me, and I swam to the actual island. It took a long time, and in hindsight, I should have used the cannon, just shot myself across the sea close to the island. But either way, that would have avoided any shark attacks. I didn't get attacked by any sharks or anything like that, which was really strange. But at any rate, it did, that was like, I could shoot myself in. I probably should have done that. But I was thinking about that while I was actually, swimming. And by the time I actually got to the island, you only have 5 shots with your gun. On shore, there's probably about 4 or 5 skeletons. And at the end of I got killed on the beach. I'll be perfectly honest. It was just me. I was like, well, this would probably be interesting if I had more people in my party. So I can see the benefit to having more people in this actual game. And that's kind of where I draw the line. If you have a group of 4, this game might actually be interesting for you. If you can keep 4 people interested in this game, keep playing, you might have an actual, experience that's more than go here, collect this, go here, kill this guy, go here, do this. Like that's all it is. And there's this huge divide in like the online community where there's a group of people like, oh, this game is so shallow and there's nothing to it and it's so boring, and there's another group that's on the other side that's like, oh my god, the possibilities are endless with this game, right? And they're very wide-eyed, and this can really be a great game. And I'll be the first to admit, this game is beautiful. It is gorgeous. And if I wanted a sailing simulator, this is where I would go, right? The sailing is a lot of fun. The tracking down the islands is a lot of fun. That's kind of the favorite quest line that I have is the treasure chest one, because it doesn't tell you exactly where to go. You have to find it on the map where to go, and that really kind of comes to that type of quest really shines when you have multiple people, right? Because you can have someone getting the ship ready, and you can have like a navigator saying, okay, I'm looking for this, okay, it's due east, so far or whatever. You're going to go past 2 islands, and then you're going to see it's coming on up or whatever. But if you're playing this game by yourself, there is nothing in this game that will keep you entertained for longer than, I don't know, a couple hours. Now there is a couple. We did experience a few of the random things within the game. So we did experience one of the random one of the random ship encounter things where there's a sunken ship and you can go down and you can scavenge all the stuff in there. That's great. Really appreciate that. We didn't get to see the sea monster. In the 20 some odd hours that we were playing, we didn't get to see the sea monster, which I was kind of sad about. We did get into a ship battle, which was okay. You know, it wasn't the great. I mean, it was a lot of shooting and missing, and at the end of it, it really just kind of diminished into, okay, let's just continue. Like, we've been fighting for like 5-10 minutes and nobody's winning. Let's just go our separate ways, and that's what happened. And the thing was, that was really the only time we interacted with people in this game. And that's kind of one of the downfalls with, I don't know how they have their server set up, but it seems to be a real mix of some people like, oh my god, there's just people camping on the outpost waiting for you to carry your treasure chests in. And there's other times when and then the experience that I had was the exact opposite, where my brother and I were playing. I completed my 3 quests, which were like 2 treasure chests a piece or whatever, and he completed his 3 quests, which were 2 villains or 2 skeletons each. So, and we had like random chests or whatever and random purchasing. It took us probably about a good 20 minutes to unload our ship. And the whole time I'm sitting, I'm like, you know, usually there shouldn't there be people here trying to rob us? Like, but there weren't. Like, it was literally go here, pick this up, come back, drop it off. And that's it. So we did experience quite a bit more of what the game had to offer than our first impression. So I will admit that the first impression was exactly that. Last episode we talked about the first 2 hours of gameplay. The bad part about this game is my brother FaZe will attest to this. This game will shine if you have 2 people or 4 people. That's kind of like the magical balance. If you have 4 people, it's great because you have these epic ship battles and you've got a really good group. You've got the bigger ship that you can control better with 4 people versus 3 people. And then the smaller ship works much better if you've got 2 people. And it's much more enjoyable because you've got someone to talk to. But the replayability is just not there for $60. It's really not. But I do think that this is a really good game for the Game Pass. So if you have an Xbox, I would recommend trying the Game Pass. You get the free trial for 14 days or whatever. And there is definitely $14 worth of content in this game. Now, there is downloadable content coming. I don't know when it is. So US Gamer's got a post up here. It looks like this one up back in February. So looks like they plan on doing so. Sea of Thieves post-launch DLC roadmap will focus on pets, hideouts, legendary voyages, and more. This will be. More content is what's needed, right? And so here's kind of what I'm looking for to make the most out of this game. We need more quests, a wider range of quests. So I've got down a couple different quests here that would make this slightly better. Where did it go? So so a couple different quests that I think that could benefit this game, rather than your go here, get this. Escort missions would be fantastic, right? When you go up to someone, go up to a quest giver and they say, hey, this person was last seen, and this can go along with the skeleton thing too. This person was last seen on this island, right? You go to that island and then there's an NPC there, or there's something telling you, or some clues or something that says, oh, they were here, but they're not here anymore and they're over here. So it's like a little bit of a, kind of a mystery, or like a problem to solve where they're at. And kind of like tracking down, a bounty hunter's fashion, tracking down this person or whatever. Then also there's a couple other quests that I was kind of thinking about. Like, there should be NPC ships out and about, kind of filling up the void in this, you have this giant open space, right? And you've got these outposts where there's, skeletons, and there's some actual islands that have cannons on that. If there's NPC skeletons on there, they will fire at you if you get close. But I feel like there should be ships out there kind of filling that void that are driven by NPCs. Now, of course, if you've got real people inside the game playing, then those ships kind of diminish, or the amount goes down or whatever. But fill this world that you've built with people, and the game will be so much more enjoyable. But let's see here. So we talked about escort missions. Charting islands is another thing. They give you all the islands there are, and maybe this is a great entry level type of game design or level design, right? You've got all these islands that are completely charted out for you. If you go down on your map or whatever, and you can kind of look and see where they are, and they're already named and stuff like that. But actually going to them and finding them and discovering them would be one thing, right? Obviously, you don't get to name them because they're already named, but just going out to them and finding them is one thing. You know what I mean? That can teach you how to do the sailing and all that stuff, and that can be a part of kind of like a quest giver quest line in teaching the player how to actually play the game. Rather than saying, okay, here's where all the stuff is, and this is what the island looks like, or this is the name of the island, and this is the last scene where this person was. Go here and kill this person. Before all that, how about we say, all right, go. Let's kind of explore what's on the furthest east side of the actual map and see what islands are there, and kind of go hunting for treasure and things like that. That was kind of my thought. Escort missions would be another fun one. And I know these typically aren't traditional pirate themed like escort and rescue, but it could be, you could put a pirate twist on it, like, escorting, someone that has stolen goods to another outpost or whatever. Or as far as like the actually rescuing someone, that could be, another rival guild or rival clan or whatever, capturing their captain or whatever and bringing him back or something like that. Just a wider variety of quests, I think, would capture the single players. Because like I said before, I played this mostly as a single player. We probably put in, I would say, of the 20 some odd hours that I played, probably about a good 8 of it was in with 2 players. So I did get to play a little bit with the 2 players, but at the end of the day, like, this game, should be consumable by a single player or by someone that has a team of 4. And I think the heart of the problem kind of stems from multiplayer or multiple different quests, right? You've only got these 3 quests. Each clan has 1 quest to give you, and that's it. Yeah, they get more difficult. That's great, but and then the other issue that I take up with this game is there's no character progression. Like, you can purchase new guns, but it's all cosmetic. You can purchase new parts for your boat, but it's all cosmetic. So it's great that you can really show people, show yourself, because the people are watching your stream, what you would like your ship to look like. But that's it. There's no reason to level up. There's nothing to level up about your character, and I do not accept the argument that, the experience that you gain is from sailing the ship. I don't accept that at all. That is a lame excuse. That is what someone with a fanboy goggles on would say. That is not experience gained. That is me walking up to a rope and pressing a button and, oh, hey, look, the sails came down. Fantastic. That's not me walking up and pulling the actual rope down and having the sails drop down. That's not the experience. And it doesn't have to be anything big, right? It can be, swimming experience, and it could be, carrying things experience and things, because as of right now, you can't carry and use a weapon. So, like, maybe, the more you walk, the more quests you do, the more you walk or swim with a single chest or a single item. Maybe you eventually learn, or your character gets strong enough where you can carry a chest one-handed, and then you can use a melee weapon. Or maybe you get so good with that, you can unlock and use, an actual gun and carry a chest. And then eventually maybe it's you put it on your back or whatever, and you kind of hold it with rope. I don't know. I'm just kind of spitfiring ideas here. But anything is better than what is there. Okay? There is zero character progression. And that's the sad part. You have this beautiful, wide open game. But that's, kind of like what Matt said in the chat. That's not enough. Like for some people, like it's just not enough. And if I wanted to play a sailing simulator with friends, I wouldn't spend $60 on it. No, definitely not. So at the end of the day, I don't think that this is a $60 title whatsoever. There has to be more content. And the sad part is they're going to charge you for that more content. So you're going to be spending more than $60 on this game. I'm not going to say that it's not a completed game. I'm not going to say that it's not rushed. It works. There's some jittering and stuff like that, but it's mostly dependent on your internet connection. There is things to do, not a lot. You will get, if you do it, you can complete everything that the game has to offer, or some variation of everything that the game has to offer within about 3 hours. If you've got a group of 4, you're probably going to complete it much, much faster. Being able to carry more quests would be another way to make this game much more enjoyable. Only carrying 3 quests is kind of bogus. So at the end of the day, it just lacks variety, and that's kind of where I'm going to leave it. Right? Replayability is a big F on this game. So fix it for free, because people are spending money on this game and it's not worth it whatsoever. So I hate to be a Debbie Downer about it, because I really wanted to like this game, but unfortunately, I talked about this, I think on the preview, or on the first impressions episode. It reminded me a lot of what was it, Halo CE, the remake or whatever. Not the original, but the remake, where they brought all the maps in and all the Halos in, and you could play with your friends, and you could play matchmaking with all these different levels, and you could hop in and out of Halo 1 and Halo 2 and Halo 3, and you've got all these different games in here, and I got this really wide-eyed. I was like, oh, this is gonna be amazing. Like, I love, ever since Halo 3 came out and beyond, it's always been like, this isn't Halo 2. No, but I can't play Halo 2 because nobody's playing Halo 2, right? And in fact, once they got so far along, they cut off the server, so you can't play Halo 2 matchmaking anymore. But this will allow me to go back and play that. This is going to be great. I'm really excited about this. And after the game release, wow, this is, everybody online and all of my friends are like, man, this is a rough game. Like, this is really rough. I'm like, no, it'll be good. They'll fix it, and they're working on it. And it's just like, delay the game. Please delay the game. Finish the game. Really kind of take a step back and be like, is this enough content for $60? Like, we've got 3 types of quests. That's it. Like, people are going to be playing this game for 40 hours, like, or more. Like, no, they'll play it for about 10, and then they're going to move on to something else. All right, so let's see if Thieves. I wouldn't recommend purchasing it for $60. Highly recommend it for the Game Pass, and that's about it. If you get the free trial, you can definitely get as much. You can get your worth of that game in that free trial, and then cut it off. Or you can keep playing it, because there's a bunch of good games on that Game Pass, so you can keep playing other games. But I would not purchase this single game. Sea of Thieves for $60, definitely not. A game I would purchase, though, if you are a fan of board games, is Mansions of Madness. This is a first impression, so take it with a grain of salt, because we've only played 2 games. I'll be upfront with you. I've played 2 games. We won 1, and we've got crushed in the second. So first impressions of the game. It's a lot of fun. The replayability is top notch. Haven't seen a game like this before, where it uses a combat system it's kind of like D&D. It's kind of like D&D Light, where you have your little characters, right? So like, here's like some of the different characters that you can play as. It's not going to focus, but you get there's a couple different characters. They come unpainted, so you get the chance to paint them. They're all different characters, they're all different types of characters, and you basically, each character has a matching character card. It tells you what their health is, what their sanity is, and then they've got the attributes right here on the side. And that's kind of, the attributes are kind of the cool part about one of the cool things about it. So as you're playing the game, like when you're attacking, the monsters, or the monsters are attacking you, or you're interacting with the world, the game will tell you, like, okay, we're going to do a perception check, and you kind of go down, or excuse me, I keep saying perception. It's observation in this game. So the observation for Agatha Crane is 4. So you pick up 4 of their included dice, and you roll those 4 dice. Each dice is a D8. There's a blank side. There's a side that has the little star thing. If I can get one, there you go, star thing. That's your successes. Blanks or fails, and then you have this little magnifying glass. Those are opportunities for you to use clue tokens that you'll gain while you play to switch the game, or the roll, to a success. So this kind of goes with when you're doing anything, like when you're opening up, drawers and trying to force open things, or when you're attacking zombies, or when you're defending against zombies or creatures or whatever. You'll use those dice to kind of do everything in the game. The game board is made up of a couple different types of squares. So it comes with the core set comes with about 8 of these boards, these square ones, right? They're all double-sided, so they have different things, and they have different titles. Like this one says ballroom, right? There you go, ballroom. Right, and then this one says addict. No, this says warehouse. Right, so, and then you have these longer ones. So these could be like bedrooms, they could be like hallways, they could be offices, they could be alleys. And the really cool thing about this game is it's all run by this single app that you download on a tablet or phone. And the app will start you out on a location. Usually you start out, I think the 2 that we played, we started out in the lobby of the mansion. And as you're opening these doors that are, are available to you, let's see here. So so here you go. So the warehouse has 3 doors. You have one up here, you have one down here, and then there's one over here on this side. Those are all doors that you have entry points at that you can interact with. In the tablet, the app will actually randomly generate the room locations and what rooms you're using and where things are and where people are. And the other thing that's really neat is it will generate what things you can interact with, and they all work, and they put little coins and things like that little cardboard coins on top of the map, so you can interact with them. They show up on the app where you can interact with things, and it's a lot of fun. The story, those 2 stories that we played were 2 way different stories. Like the first one was you're looking for a missing person inside of their mansion, and the second one was you're investigating a possible murder that's or cultist dark arts that's about to happen, and you're investigating multiple NPCs, taking notes and trying to figure out who did what, and it's kind of like very Clue-esque but with combat. And you're going to different locations, and the cool thing about that one was it uses the same pieces, but you're downtown, you're in the downtown area, so you're going through the streets of downtown, and you're going through these different rooms and houses and things like that, and then you're going through the hotel, which is the mansion, and you're going through the docks, and you're going through like different boats and warehouses and things like that. So it's very what's the word I'm looking for? It's very intuitive and engaging. So the enemies that you get, there's probably about 5 or 6 different enemies that come with a core set, and they're all of varying different sizes. They each come with these little stands, right? And the little stands have these little cardboard cutouts. They tell you what they are, if it'll focus. So this is the cultist. It's got a couple different numbers on there. So, and then on the back side, it tells you like their hit points, and it gives you a little. Come on, focus. It's not gonna focus. There it goes. It gives you like a little blurb about the character itself. The numbers. I'm not going to get into the numbers during this kind of first impressions thing, but then they come with these little miniatures. So this is the deep one. Come on, focus, camera. Come on, focus. I don't think it's going to. There it goes. So you've got like this amphibious like creature thing. And the way it introduces the game will introduce these and kind of give you a blurb about them, what you're seeing, and these are humans that transform into these things, and they have like here's like you're a deep one hybrid, so this is like the actual. This is kind of a person that was human and then is turning into one of those things. He's kind of going mad or whatever. Then you have like the cultist. So these are all like the little squares, right? And then you have the slightly bigger squares. So for frame of reference, here's the one I just showed you, and here's the next size of character, right? So about 50% big, about 50% bigger. So this is a haunting horror. It's kind of like a snake with wings type of thing. Slightly bigger. It's got more hit points and things like that. And then haven't run into this guy yet. This is a star spawn. It's kind of like a Cthulhu looking thing. It's got some wings. Looks like it's pretty muscular. It's got kind of this weird spine looking thing on the back of it. A lot more hit points, but all the encounters are randomly generated from the app, and I can tell you it's a blast to play. Just the interacting and the way the game plays out. You get 2 actions each round, and then the game takes a turn, and you gain these damage cards and insanity cards, and kind of like on the actual character card here. So like Agatha has 5 hit points before she's brutally injured, and if you get 5 hit points taken away, you don't die, you just get injured, and then if you get 5 more, then you're dead. But the interesting thing is what happens with those hit points. So like some of those damage cards will say, once they're flipped over, once one of those damage cards are resolved. Like Amanda had one last game that said, you have a broken arm, or you tripped and broke your arm, or something happened and you broke your arm, and you can only carry 2 items. So she had like 15 items or whatever, ranging from sledgehammer to a shotgun to a revolver to like a backpack and all this, a couple different spells and abilities and things like that. And she had to drop all of that except for 2 things. It's completely like changing the way she could play the game, because she could basically come up to anything and like, okay, I'm going to shoot it from this distance, and then I'm going to move in for the kill with my sledgehammer or whatever, like. But then she had to like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to keep my firearm and just try to keep the villains to a distance because I can't heal myself. But it's really neat. And then the insanity portion of it, so like each character has a different, like Agatha has 9 sanity, like a marking of 9 sanity. And then like this character, this is Rita, she has kind of like the opposite. She's got 5 sanity. So this is really cool because this changes how the game is played. Like it interacts with you on a little bit of a different level. So like one of the insanity cards that Amanda had to way it changed her game was she couldn't speak. I don't remember what it was called. I think it was like paranoia or something like that. And basically the game said the augmentation of the game said you can't speak anymore. and you can nod and you can, kind of point, but you're not allowed to speak. So it's kind of neat, and it's kind of cute. It's definitely not for kids whatsoever, just because of the combat system, and there's things of nightmares in the game. The app itself is very well built. I highly recommend it. Even though this is a first impression, I've only got 2 games under my belt, but this is a fantastic game. And the fact that they're still supporting it years later with expansions and things like that is phenomenal. So definitely pick it up. I think it'll run you, $80 for the box itself. You can get it on Amazon for $79.99. But highly recommend it. I think there's 2 expansions already out, plus like a character pack or whatever to give you more playable characters. So yeah, definitely recommend it. That is Mansions of Madness board game, and let's see here. Okay, so Pixel Junk Monsters is a game that came out for the PSP and the PlayStation 3. Both really good games. Tower defense games. You play this little kind of native dude who, you're building towers to kill off these little insect-looking alien things, collecting coins and gems and things like that to upgrade your weapons, upgrade your towers, and set traps and things like that. It looks like the Pixel Junk 2 is going to be coming out, but instead of just being for the PlayStation, you're also going to be able to pick it up on the Nintendo Switch, which I think is going to be where this game really shines. It's going to be available for PS4, of course, and then Steam is on there as well, coming out May 25th. It's going to support 2 players on local co-op and then 4 players online co-op. It's going to be $15, which I'm ecstatic about. They could have charged a lot more for this title with the brand recognition and the cult following that it has. But the puzzles that they offer, the different gameplay mechanics is from the first one. If they bring even a sliver of that back plus some, this game is going to be knockout 10 for sure. So highly really looking forward to that. So that's Pixel Junk 2. So let's get into our spoilers here. So this is your warning. If you haven't seen the newest episodes of Walking Dead, and you don't want it spoiled, I would recommend kind of heading out now. I do appreciate you watching. Make sure you head over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/72DPI online. Get subscribed, leave us a couple comments, and the best thing you could do to really help out the channel is share the videos. Get your friends, anyone that's interested in board games, video games, movies, comics, TV shows, whatever, get them over here, get them in the chat, kind of get them engaging with us during the shows. We got a couple different podcasts that are up there. We've got a Magic the Gathering podcast that I do called Mana Drained on Mondays. Usually this show is on Wednesdays, and Thursdays, which we'll be getting to after the show, is our Laundry Day stream, where we actually stream like Fortnite and video games and current games and stuff like that. And then we'll be bringing back our 8-Bit Gaming podcast to stream later on next week, where we play like old school games. I think we didn't finish Spyro, but we played through quite a bit of it. We played Dark Cloud 2 on there, the second Mario or third Mario Brothers. So we're kind of in between games there, but we got a lot of content. We work really hard on the stream, so make sure you head over there, get subscribed, and share the podcast and the show and the streams or all that stuff on your Facebook feeds. I really do appreciate you guys. All right, let's talk about some Walking Dead spoilers. Let's see here. So we didn't do a podcast last week, so we'll kind of talk a little bit about episode 14 and 15. So 14 was Still Gotta Mean Something, and this is this episode was it was kind of an eye-opener for me. One of the biggest things that stuck out was the differentiation between Rick and Negan has never been more apparent. We always knew kind of Rick was kind of like this, guns blazing. He wasn't always like that. We had Farmer Rick for a little bit, and the show was kind of, bad for it. but Rick has kind of gone to like 11, and even after Carl passing away, and Carl was very much like, hey, we need to get this back on track. We need to, we need peace to survive. We don't want to survive. We want to live. And, he said, I hope you can find it, to make peace with Negan. I don't even think he was thinking like, I don't even think he was thinking like, okay, let's go ahead and everybody, cohabitate with everyone or whatever and live together in harmony or whatever. They just the killing is what has to stop. And we had the video or the premonition or the dream sequence where they had Negan in the actual scene, gardening with Rick walking around and stuff like that. And I think that was more of a pipe dream, but I think really what Carl was looking for is, hey, we just want people to live. Like, we want people to not just survive, but we want people to live. And going toe to toe with these people, there is not what we're about. We want to be better than that. Because remember, some of those people are workers, some of those people are dads and families, and they've got kids, and they're married, and they don't have a lot to live for. And going in there and killing them is not what we need to do. We need to come together. We need to figure this out. And man, Rick just doesn't get it. He is just so hard-headed. But on the other end of that, you've got Negan, who while he has his shortcomings with the iron and murdering people to kind of send a message, he does save a lot of people in the sense that, like, hey, you've got a job, you're going to provide for yourself, but you're also going to provide for the people that I have at my sanctuary, and I'm going to bring family members in, and then we've got people living there, we've got people that are working at the sanctuary, and you've got a couple different outposts. Like, he's got like a network there, much like what Rick did with with Hilltop and Alexandria. More so Alexandria was Rick's baby before Negan came in and destroyed it at a long line of events. But in this episode, Rick and Morgan went after the group that ran away, the saviors that were captive, that ran away after the gate was opened or whatever. And we saw, I thought I saw a glimmer of hope. Like, there was this kind of epiphany moment where Rick was getting almost, had a zombie like right up on him, and the saviors that were running away, they were all in this location. They had Rick and Morgan captured or whatever, and they were kind of deciding what to do. And basically the room that they were in got surrounded. There were zombies coming in. They eventually let Rick and Morgan out to help fight off the zombies. But there was this moment of pure hope, and I was like, oh, this is it. This is great. Rick is kind of turning the corner. You've got Rick has kind of got a zombie like right there on him, and then one of the saviors turns and shoots the zombie off of him, no questions asked. And Rick kind of goes, kind of gives him the thumbs up, the nod or whatever, and then he kind of points him to go forward to kind of keep attacking zombies or whatever. And then he kind of turns and looks at Morgan, and he kind of gives Morgan this wink, nod, very dark, mischievous, and then he pulls his gun on this dude that just saved his life. And they end up murdering all of these saviors, including the one guy that's the long-haired dude that's a complete dick. Thank God he's dead, because he was asking for it. But Morgan got to kill him. But why are we murdering people that are looking for a second chance? They're like, what, we did hear what Simon said, and you got caught, it's up to you, you figure it out, we don't care about you. Why would you run back to that? You've got Maggie here that's kind of turning over a new leaf, and she's letting them out and stuff like that, and Rick is just bloodlust to the ninth degree. And when you have this huge opportunity to kind of pay homage to your son who died, and apparently you don't give two shits about, because I mean, you see it in episode 15 we'll talk about here in a minute, but it's just one of those moments where you're like, well, it kind of looks like Negan is where I'd want to be. Like, yeah, he's got Simon on his side, and Simon's kind of a douche, in the sense that if you kind of cross him, he will just flat out murder you and everybody that you know, and that's just the way it is. But Negan is more and more becoming the good guy that's doing things. Yeah, he's kind of, it's not the way I would run things, like, like capital punishment for sneezing or looking the wrong way or not producing enough firearms or, food or whatever. But at the end of the day, he's got a better system that's in place for more people to survive than Rick does. I mean, how many times this season have we seen our party just break into different sections, and this person's doing this thing and this person's doing this thing, and they're not communicating at all, and sometimes they're even working counterintuitive to each other. Case in point, they had this this miraculous plan of getting Negan to come to Hilltop or whatever, and Rick kind of just goes rogue, and that was last episode. But like, can we just get a plan and stick to it? Like, you've got Negan's group that is very like on point, know exactly their role, know exactly who's in charge, what they're doing. And then you've got the Hilltop, who you've got a couple different, villages that are there. You've got like the Kingdom with Ezekiel, and then you've got Alexandria with Rick, and Hilltop with Maggie. You've got too many chiefs, not enough Indians, essentially. And maybe that's just Negan has had his role set for longer than, Rick and them. And that's why he's further along in like the progression of his civilization. But anyway, we see at the end of the episode, we do see Negan picks him up in his car. He does escape from, I don't really escape. He gets let go from I can't remember what her name is, from the hipsters. Shoot, the heapsters. I can't remember what her name is. That's not Judith. Jadith, I think. Jadis. She does let him go or whatever. There's some weird helicopter scene or something like that or whatever. That's super strange. I don't know what the helicopters are doing, but she apparently knew about it, but I'm not sure. We don't really know too much about that. So he picks, on his way back to Sanctuary, he picks up somebody. We don't know who. And that's kind of where, the episode ends. Simon's kind of elected to, in this episode, flatten Hilltop, much like he did the garbage dump people. And we also learned that he did that to the seaside people, that group as well. So Simon is definitely not the person to cross in this series whatsoever, because he will demolish you. So we know that Simon is cohorts with Dwight, trying to get him to kind of mutiny against Negan. It seems like Simon has this pipe dream of, well, if we take the big guy out, we can run things the way we want to run them, and we can clear out Hilltop, we can clear out the Alexandria, and we can clear out these other places, start fresh, and we can reach out further and find outposts further because we know they're out there. And he has this grand plan in his head. It just has to get Negan out of the way, and he's got to convince other people. So it's kind of, so my thing was, what is Negan, once Negan gets back, because Negan is coming back, once he gets back, what is he going to do to Simon, and Dwight for that matter? I think, and at that point we had an idea, we knew that Dwight had had his hand concealed a little bit better than Simon, only because, I mean, Negan already knew that, that Simon murdered all the garbage people. So that's kind of, we already knew that something bad is going to happen to Simon for sure. But what's going to happen to Dwight, and who does Negan have in the car? So episode 15 is called Worth. And this opens up where Carl, we've got a voiceover with Carl reading Rick's letter out loud, because Rick's on the porch reading it or whatever, kind of talking about, hey, this is where, this is what I foresee. We really need to live and not just survive. You talked about like the walks and things like that, Pizza Fridays, and really living life and not just like, okay, who are we gonna murder now? What how murdering is wasn't okay then, and apparently it's now okay. Like, and it's interesting to see those points, but again, Rick doesn't take any of that advice, and he's just so hard-headed. You want to slap him. In this episode, we also see Eugene kind of bully Father Gabriel a little bit. Apparently, Gabriel was trying to sabotage the bullets he was making, and Eugene basically set him in a corner. He's like, look, if you're not going to help, you can go over there in the corner and wait to die, because that's what's going to happen. And then essentially Eugene's like, well, I'm going to go test fire some of these bullets that you created, see what the damage is, and see if they're still usable. And when he walks outside with his, the two guys that were carrying the guns, the two guys get murdered, and he gets captured by Rosita and Daryl. And there's this really, really sweet interaction with this character who, inside the bullet factory, was very macho, very, I'm standing, upright posture, was like, chest is puffed out or whatever. Like, he was really the center of attention. And then when he steps out and he doesn't have his followers anymore, he's still surrounded by people he knows, his not original group, but his Alexandria group. But you see a different side of the leaf for these other two characters. Like, Daryl is just, from the get-go, is not having it. Rosita, on the other hand, takes a little bit more time to kind of get to that, gun to the throat type of interaction. But essentially, they cross paths with this group of zombies or whatever, and Eugene escapes by throwing up on Rosita and basically using the zombies as like a wall, and he runs through this, it looks like a pile of burnt like ash or whatever from like corpses or whatever, and it looks like he left tracks that show him running off in the distance. And you see Rosita and Daryl kind of run by, like, he went through this way, we got to catch up to him, and they just run off after those tracks. And sure enough, Eugene is inside one of these piles of ash or whatever. So he did escape, and when he got back to the bullet factory, you saw that character come back, right? You saw this character who was about to go back to his original group, who was quote unquote saved from Negan, who, his friends kind of betrayed him. And yeah, he betrayed his friends, but at the end of the day, he's just trying to survive and, taking action, and Rosita calls him a coward, and maybe it is, but at the end of the day, he's trying to survive, and he actually feels like he's a part of something with Negan's group. Negan is really kind of taking a liking to him. He's got a whole facility that he's in charge of and things like that. Whereas the other group really didn't care for him as much. I mean, yeah, they backstabbed him a little bit and kind of shortchanged him because of how the lies that he was weaving throughout the first few seasons that he was in to kind of survive. But now he's actually using his knowledge that he has, like the bullet making thing, to be useful, so that he actually fits better in the group with Negan versus our group with Alexandria. So he gets back to the bullet factory, finds out that Negan is back. and they've got a plan to attack Hilltop or whatever, and they need the quota of bullets filled by a certain time or whatever. And he sits down. And he's like, "Look, we will hit this quota. We will max out this quota. We will not fall short. Let's get to work." Puts Father Gabriel back to work, and that's kind of the last we see of that. So then we see a small scene between Michonne and Negan via walkie-talkie where Michonne takes Negan's letter and reads it to him over the walkie-talkie. Essentially, well, she feels that he needs to hear it, and I think he does too, but I thought that Rick read it to him over his walkie-talkie, but apparently didn't read all of it or whatever. But, Negan has a soft spot for Carl, but I think Rick has pulled the rug out from under that in any possible fashion of, rekindling a friendship or even saving the two factions from killing each other, as is completely out the window at this point. So, Negan just says, the time for talk is over. You can thank Rick for that. He literally blames Rick for this whole mess. And I think Simon really kind of screwed things up with the dumpster group, killing the dumpster group. I think that's one of the departures that we saw there. And if he hadn't done that, Rick probably could have. I could see Rick taking his deal from in that one interaction, that one fight sequence a couple episodes back. I could see him taking that deal, that 25% type of thing. Fast forward a little bit, we find Simon and Dwight outside. They form a group outside. There's a group of saviors that want to mutiny against Negan, and they're outside, and Simon's talking, and we need to get rid of the big man. He's done really good for us, but it's just times have changed. We need to go our separate ways, and we need to fix this to where he's not a part of it anymore. And then you hear the whistle, and Negan walks out from the dumpster, and Simon's got that glassy eye, and his looks like, oh crap. And all of a sudden you hear 3, 2, 1, and then everybody around them except for Simon, Dwight, and what was the crap? I can't remember. Jeffrey. I can't remember the dude's name from the Hilltop. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but the original top dog at Hilltop. Those three did not die. Everyone else got a bullet to the head. So mutiny avoided. Good job, Negan. And then there's this little interaction with Negan and Simon. And eventually it comes out to, well, you're gonna get your shot. You want to beat the big man? Well, let's go toe to toe. And they gather everybody in like the furnace room where he burns people with the iron or whatever, and they have this brawl, just the two of them. There's no Lucille. It's just mano y mano, fisty, and boom. There's some really good dialogue in that fight scene, which I enjoyed thoroughly, because you really kind of see where Negan's coming from, and he really shows his true colors, where he's like, I'm trying to save people and you're murdering people, and now you're forcing me, because of what you did, you are forcing me to kill everybody at the Hilltop. Everybody. This is your fault, and I've got to kill everybody, and I'm going to start with you. And he just chokes him out. And then he puts him up on the fence in zombie form. So Simon is gone. See you later, Simon. Nice knowing you. More people will survive with you gone. And so, prior to this, Negan had set up this, he got all his generals together or whatever, and set up this elaborate trap, with a map or whatever. And he's like, we're going to form, outposts here, surrounding the Hilltop, and if anybody pokes their head out whenever they leave, we're just gonna pick them off one at a time, and until they either surrender or they're all dead. And Simon's not, at that time Simon's still alive, and he's not entirely happy with that plan. He's more so, let's just go in and kill them. And Negan's like, no, we need to try to save them. If we get them into submission, then we're right back to square one, where they're still providing for us, and we've saved lives. And I truly do think that Negan is trying to save lives in this instance. But so they have this general map or whatever, and ideas or whatever, and somehow Dwight gets a hold of this map, right? And he makes a copy of it, and he writes to Rick or whatever. And while the fight scene's going on between Negan and Simon, he gives Gregory, that's his name. He gives the map to Gregory and sends Greg. He's like, "You got to take this to Rick. Make sure he understands what's happening here. There's no time. This is coming tomorrow. It's they're all gonna die, essentially." So he takes the map and goes off on his merry way, and after the whole fight scene between Simon and Negan, Negan's talking to Simon, walking him back to his dorm and saying, "You're my new number 2. You've done so much for me. Beyond what you've done so much for me." And right there, Amanda's like, "I'm pretty sure that plan was fake." And Negan just set up Dwight. He knows at that point, and she knew, she had mentioned something earlier. And at that point I was like, oh God, he does know. And this is an elaborate plan for him, and that's exactly what happened. It's an elaborate plan to get Rick's group out in the open. For one thing, it will turn Dwight. It'll screw with the interactions between the relationship that Dwight was creating with the Hilltop group, because they were kind of uneasy and kind of on edge. Do we believe Dwight? He's part of Negan's group. He's crossing over. He's literally saved us here, and here, but he betrayed us here. This will probably solidify Dwight as a savior and part of Negan's group, and Dwight sees that when he confronts him, and we find out who Negan picked up in the car on his way back last episode. It was the one chick that got away when on the convoy or whatever that Dwight didn't get to kill. So she came back, and she's the one that kind of spilled the beans on him, and so that's how Negan found out. But at the end of the day, Negan is not going to kill Dwight. He's going to continue to use him. I don't know how much more useful he's going to be. We did see Gregory get to Hilltop and deliver that information. We didn't see what they're going to do with it. They did imprison Gregory again. He's back in the pen. But it's interesting to see now that, we don't know too much about what they're going to do with this information, but we know it's not going to be good. Because it's obviously false information, but it's going to be interesting to see what the dynamic is and what Negan has in store for Dwight. So it's because there's really not. He can't use him too much more. He can't if he sends him back out to the Hilltop, they'll just kill him. If they survive. So so I don't think there's much more for Negan to use as far as Dwight's concerned. So I don't know if he'll be sent to the wall or whatever. I'm not sure. I have no idea. We do know from this episode that Negan is about giving second chances. And this is the episode that we found out that when Negan took over the sanctuary with Simon as his number 2, when he took over the sanctuary, and one of the first mess ups or one of the first things that Simon screwed up on was killing everybody at the Oceanside, or killing all the men at the Oceanside or whatever, because they betrayed or didn't provide or whatever the case may be. Negan said okay, that was bad, and kind of reprimanded him, didn't burn his face for whatever reason. So I'm kind of curious to see what happened, in the wake of that mistake. But, Simon remained his number 2. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And so we've got the final episode this coming Sunday. I'm really looking forward to it. I want to know how this is going to end, because I don't think they're going to kill off. They're not going to kill off Rick. They're not going to kill, and I hope they don't kill off Negan. I really like Negan as a villain, but it would be interesting to see what happens if they capture him and you have the sanctuary. They already killed off the mutineers, the mutineers or whatever, the people that were forming against Negan within sanctuary. They killed off all those people. So I don't think I don't think there's going to be a mutiny anytime soon because of what happened to them, but it would have been interesting to see if they had captured Negan, if the Sanctuary would have just left Hilltop alone and went their separate ways. Like, okay, we've got a mutual agreement. You've taken down our dictator. We're going to live in harmony. We will leave you alone. You leave us alone, and kind of go our separate ways. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But apparently this is the war ends, so that would indicate that one of the two are going to die, or someone's going to go into submission. Who knows? And then Fear the Walking Dead premieres this Sunday, so we're trying to catch up on that. So we haven't quite finished season 2 yet, and we definitely haven't gotten into season 3 at all. We don't know anything about it other than Travis dies. That's the only thing I know from Fear season 3. So looking into that, getting that finished before this week is out is going to be a little tricky. So anyway, so that's it, guys. Really appreciate you watching. Make sure you head over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/72DPI online. Get subscribed, leave us some comments, share our videos, do everything you could do to get our name out there. We really do appreciate it. If you want to chat with us live, you can head over to twitch.tv/72DPI online. We also stream on Xbox's Mixer as well as Facebook Live. So I really appreciate everybody that hopped in the chat. You guys are awesome. And we will see you guys back here on Wednesday next week, a normal scheduled time, Wednesday evening. We'll be talking all about the Walking Dead premiere or finale and the Fear the Walking Dead's premiere. There we go. And then I think Amanda will have her Stardew Valley review or first impressions or whatever. And then we'll go from there. God of War comes out next Friday, so we won't have that for review just yet, but I'm looking forward to playing that. So that'll be on the future podcast for sure. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great evening, and we will see you guys next week. Thanks for watching.